When it comes to international releases, Netflix certainly has a successful library of projects, in my opinion, from all over the world, really, in all types of different styles and genres and project types. Though I've not seen anything from Kuwait in regards to content of country origin, but I do like experimenting around in regard to what's available on a global scale and not just localizing my main focus on American content, which of course is fine. I do like seeing what's available in other entertainment markets and perhaps seeing the originality of content that can come from other creators in different locations among the world. And like I've said, Netflix has, again, a very revered library of works, whether they be projects that I've personally covered or projects that I've watched or projects that I can consider the broader take from a general audience in regards to attributing success where it's warranted. Perhaps the Exchange could have a bit of a similar response. I see potential for it based on a first impression, and it's not much, but I think it's actually kind of interesting in terms of its construction. Though, I will say, and I'm going to read the synopsis in a minute if you're not familiar with the work, which some of you might not be, because I had to do a bit of digging to find this page on IMDb, because there's a lot of projects that go by the Exchange title. So, now being able to confirm that this is a project of focus here, this is the IMDb pitch for it to give you a good background. Set in Kuwait in 1988, two women making their way in the boys' club of the Kuwait Stock Exchange on the eve of Saddam Hussein's invasion of the country. So there's again a bit of a historical context, and I would imagine, I don't know if this is meant to be sort of a comedic take or if it's sort of like a biographical, a realistic fiction, weaving it into a historical context. I could see that. Either way, again, I like that baseline. It provides, I would say, a stronger foundation because it places it in time specifically, but it gives it this dimension that you can, I think, better appreciate the context of the work and see perhaps the strength of this original story built off of what we can relate to generally from even just historical textbooks. We don't have that familiar experience. But this could go any number of ways. It's engaged with two key characters of focus. In this case, two female actresses that are getting involved in the Kuwait Stock Exchange. I'm not sure perhaps how relevant financially themed shows happen to be for many people. Some perhaps yes, but I can think of perhaps other cases. Let's say, for example, because I'm considering this in regards to final delivery and pacing and in terms of audience engagement. Though I'm interested in business-centric shows, maybe not everybody is. This is a complaint, for example, in terms of other Netflix past releases, let's say season 1 of Iron Fist, which was more supposed to be, it's a kung fu show, but it tried to weave in more of a business plot, at least in the introductory episodes, and have that through line all the way during the duration of the first season. Not as much into the second, they kind of ditched that, but that aspect of the story, a lot of people did complain about slower pacing, and the business side of the story was not as engaging, though I thought it was. So perhaps the response on this front, we'll see how effective the delivery is here. But I could see it going either which way. Let's add a teaser to context, I guess, for better informing on what we can expect with this series. But, it's Netflix content. They do have a bit of mix in terms of the quality, but I think in terms of a lot of their international releases, they're generally palatable and well accepted. Again, I think of some of their leading top-tier programs, and they happen to be from diverse places around the globe, not just in America. Especially when it comes to their American series, it seems to be those are the ones, at least as of late, have been getting the most mixture of response. Either way, let's consult the Exchange and see what we're in for. Here we go. First teaser. Engaging tune to make launch us in. Okay. Bit of a retro feel.
أنا أساساً أول بنت تشتغل بالبورصة. كلهم نفس الشيء قطيع. يمشون وراء الأوامر وينفذونها على المسطرة. عبالهم إحنا ما نقدر نسوي شيء بدونهم. أصلاً الدنيا بكبرها ماشية بهالعقلية الذكورية.
So this is kind of like a feminist-esque story. I don't know. That could play interesting in regards to the political landscape, especially in the context here. I'm not sure. Okay, it does have the background, like I said. There's that subtext.
ما له داعي لأنها ما راح تطول. كلهم ما يبون ننجح. تعودي عليها. وأنا إنسانة رائدة. اسمي هذا باكر راح ينكتب بالتاريخ. إن شاء الله.
أنت متأكدة إنك تكفلني بنفسك بهذا الشيء؟
Well, we'll see what the delivery is. I think it's soft.
أنا وايد شاطرة بالفلوس.
I think the historical layer and the fact that it's a true story gives it some engagement strength. and I won't be too hard on this point again because I'm not as familiar with the story of Focus, so this could be a good learning opportunity. Some of the line work and the way that the series is depicted, again, it's trying to, I guess, be that series with two female leads putting themselves in a position of, well, we're sort of acting in a revolution of what's typical in the surrounding environment and us engaging in such a high position and involvement in the financial stock space. And I could see a story like that doing pretty well, especially among female audiences that tend to be more involved. I would say with certain, I don't know this for sure in terms of an international respect, but I could see this appealing very well to women who perhaps are more career focused, but there is that point of relevancy. I don't see broad appeal, which is why I say it's soft. Some of the portrayal and the line work might not be the most palatable in terms of the general scale. Well, I think some of it is fine. And again, I'm trying to be very fair to this in regard to the real story background, because I don't want to be too disparaging in that respect, but it's the delivery. You can still make a series that's rather nuanced in the way it approaches the conversation without making it seem cheesy or too typical cliche. And I do feel that this sort of floats into that space, like the whole world's a patriarchy, that is such an overused word these days. And that term, especially in regards to context of, let's say, a more feminism-focused show, does not rub the best off people. There will be perhaps a lot, I mean, not just, by the way, I'm not saying it's in disrespect to being a guy, and considering perhaps the male-dominant reception to a line like that, I'm also considering among like female audiences, people that I know won't find that line generally palatable. I mean, again, it might be the historical context, but it's the way that you phrase it that it just comes across, again, a bit silly and cliche, where you could go for something a little more original and it would be a little more engrossing. And again, the structure of the story, again, I will let the story speak for itself in regards to the character's journey. It's just the portrayal, I feel, is a bit, I don't know. In context, again, this is just a teaser, by the way. We're only sitting at a, 1 minute, 10-second look, basically. A little shorter than that. So it's a very slim tease. We'll get a better perspective with the trailer, but for what they're offering here, to me, again, in what I'm seeing, it could be interesting, again, with the Kuwait attribution that this is focusing somewhere else around the world, especially in the realm of the Middle East. So the politics there and the Saddam Hussein involvement in regards to the story could be of particular interest and set the story apart from other releases where maybe certain line work registers as a familiar project to the modern world, especially among the more socially conscious series in focus. And I have no problem, by the way, with social commentary, but again, it depends on nuance. Even for something that's more, though I'm not necessarily a big fan of I can't say I'm the most engaged with the feminist movement, especially as it exists in terms of modern iteration, specifically the third wave, as it's called. I'm much more, if you were to attribute the term feminist to me, which I won't accept, I would say I'm more along the lines of first wave. But in terms of like basic merits, but there's a way to make it appeal to an audience that perhaps, again, when I watch this series, I don't feel it has the most drive in garnering reception. But I think there is some originality, again, of the particular focus and the international aspect, it being a real story. And maybe the cast will be engaging. I just feel like, again, the way it's presented here, and it is a very slim look, again, to be fair, I just think it kind of falls in the territory of some cliche elements that might make it less approachable to audiences that might be like, well, I'm kind of tired of this type of theming around certain stories, especially in the way it's expressed, because it does mirror general statements in society today that are not necessarily the most generally welcomed. Let's say by comparison, by the way, to other types of programming, I imagine this is going to be a little more sophisticated. But in respect to feminist-themed programs, as of recent debut, let's say Marvel She-Hulk series. I know, again, not probably the best of comparisons, but from even what I know, and I haven't even finished covering that yet, that was very feminist skewed in regards to its theming. From what, again, I've heard from reviews that have come in passing with me, and the large negative response of that series understood. And I would say, even just not even being as familiar with it in respect to others, because again, I've tried to keep myself a bit distant in regard to giving you a fair take when I finish covering that show. Even though you wouldn't know it, I'm not even caught up at this point in regards to, I've been saying for a while, I got so much editing to do in regards to projects I've covered and you don't even realize I'm going to take on. Marvel's like coming at some point. I'm going to upload everything that I've covered in terms of the past couple of years all as one set whenever I get around to finishing the editing stages and all that stuff. I'm making my way through, especially in terms of coverage, but I've been keeping up to speed with, certain Marvel programs, those of you perhaps have been wondering. But I would say again, like on a general comparison with She-Hulk, there's a reason that, I'm going to say this as well in that respect to that program, there's a reason that steam from 2014 to 2016 era feminism, which is really, again, I think where that was sort of its heyday of the modern iteration, there's a reason in the years since, because now we're in 2023, looking at other types of programs, let's say, for again, example, She-Hulk in conjunction here, there's a reason that humor and dialogue in terms of discourse and spirit has been, I guess, regarded as a bit outdated. It's fizzled away, even amid perhaps again its more opulent presence within the 2016 time span, especially around, again, like I said, 2014 to 2016. That's really the era of prime focus, I guess, in terms of when feminism got a lot of attention as of late. But attention to it has been dwindling away to the point that if it tries to reemerge itself, it's regarded inhospitably. To be fair, again, like I said, to specify this, as best I can, She-Hulk was probably be very different from The Exchange. This seems a bit more sophisticated. It does have, again, that real story background, but the way that it expresses itself, I think, again, kind of resorts into the cliche, where if you were to provide a more substantive social commentary-esque show, especially centered around other global politics, the delivery and the presentation, especially among the character interaction, like the one scene here, where was it? These two guys, and I get it. Again, they provided the line like just a couple moments ago, from that scene of, oh, we have to, the whole world's a patriarchy, we got to fight against it, and then you've got these guys who are like, like the guys in power. I get the image that they're going for, but it comes off as silly. And maybe that's what they're going. Maybe they're going for a more comedic edge, and it's just coming across to me in the context of an initial teaser as too familiar for a series that I would presume, again, based on the energy of what I'm seeing, is more going to be along the lines of social commentary in a global sense in regards to the feminist movement. Which, again, I would leave a door open for. I just don't think the delivery is the most satisfactory to what it could be, especially in regards to producing nuance. We'll see in time what the response is, and when the series gets a better presentation in regards to a trailer, whatever that will be. When does the series debut? IMDb doesn't even list a release date. I don't think they've done the teaser unless I missed it. February 8th. That's a short turnaround. Well, there'll probably be a trailer in no time, so I'll get a better look at the series as a whole. Especially, I'm sure, along the line of the themes. You get the better introduction to the characters as well, perhaps. I just don't think with this teaser, if you were trying to present a globally themed, or not globally themed, but in respect to Middle Eastern politics and the political landscape at the time, especially set in the 80s in history, or late 80s, I think the way it's presented, while it could be very sophisticated, again, could speak to the context of the original story that this is inspired by, which I will try, I'm trying to step on this one as best I can. To be fair to the original story that I have yet to learn about, maybe the series will be great in presenting. I just feel, again, when I watch this teaser, it resorts into territory of articulation, especially among feminist-themed programming, that comes off as cliche and could warrant better refinement of vision in order to make it a little more sophisticated, especially if they're trying to go for that approach. Maybe it's meant to be more comedic in energy. I think I need a better look at it to best gauge the project. And of course, that'll help, of course, we can get the series in full, but I guess I'm going to wait for a trailer to give a full verdict. But I think this teaser has some potential. I just think there's points where it could be better tooled. Let me know your thoughts down below on the piece. Maybe you're like, you're being too critical on it. Okay, to be fair. And again, like I said, I'm trying to best step around the context of this being an inspired story. That is a driving point for me. And I do like to learn about people's real life struggles, especially on a global scale. You know, I do like to hear about real people's stories. It matters to me. I will leave a door open. Like I said, you know, it concerns social commentary. Just for me, it's the nuance of how you approach it, and I would say, the accessibility of articulation, which I don't often see. She-Hulk, it was like this. You know, from my understanding, for many people, it came across as a bit patronizing. Maybe, and dismissive. Maybe the exchange will be much fairer. I don't know. I see points of strength to it. I just think maybe some of the line work and maybe some of the character reactions, it comes off again, not just character reactions, but the staging of some of the expressions in conjunction to the line work. I'm finding it kind of echoes of our entertainment that might, again, not have been revered in the best manner. And maybe this is, again, trying to go for a more sophisticated feel or more of a comedic edge, maybe it's trying to tap into that energy a bit more to make kind of a silly type production themed with the real background, even though I think it's going to go more along the lines of telling a real story. I don't think it's necessarily, again, going for that comedic edge. I'm giving it some leeway here because, again, it's a first teaser. I'm interested to see where it expands to give a better engagement of the piece in regards to a verdict. On a first teaser, while I do see perhaps some minor issues, I do see some points of interest that could provide a good project, or at least, at the very least, a serviceable one, especially in respect to international fare, which I do think Netflix has been a bit stronger in terms of quality. We'll see how the exchange evolves itself. I'll leave an open door. I guess that's the best summary for it. I will leave an open door to this project to perhaps in the future prove me wrong from what I've given you. But on a first impression, that's my long-form response. It might be a bit imperfect, but there are still points of potential to it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.